So this is interview number 3, digital recording. I'm here with Spencer, a real estate professional in Texas. And Spencer, what does your company specialize in?
So we own and operate 160 private country clubs across the United States.
Oh, okay. And is there any specific process that your firm takes part in order to verify facilities teams or construction contractors that may have to accomplish work at these golf courses?
Yeah, so the private club industry is very capital intensive. So when I think about it, I think of a member is not going to want to join a country club where you walk into the clubhouse and it looks like you're walking into a 1970s 1980s home. So we constantly
Okay.
have to update them, and you really want the clubhouse to look like like the houses in the surrounding community, which are obviously constantly being updated. So there are a lot of different construction and design firms that we work with on these projects. We have our own internal design team who does a lot of the vetting of different contractors for this specific type of work.
Oh, okay. So have there been any specific issues identified with facilities teams that have taken care of some of these properties, or any significant issues that have arisen with contractors?
In my experience, not too many. I mean, the thing that we run into the most is just severe cost overruns in projects, and whether or not the finger can be blamed, or the blame can be put on us for not properly vetting the scope of work, or if it can be put on the contractor, I don't know. But in the last few years, we've become much more responsible with how we handle our cash. So there is a lot more emphasis put on, really determining, project costs and being much more accurate with that. So at the end of the day, we're not, looking at $1 million project overrun.
Okay. So in order to mitigate running into those overrun issues, do you put that on the backs of real estate attorneys to draft better documentation, or how does that work?
I think part of it is accomplished that way. I mean, when we enter into these contracts for big projects, I think the scope of work is outlined in much more detail. And I think that's the primary way that we try to mitigate that from a legal standpoint.
Okay. And let's see. So does your firm also build golf courses?
We do not. We built one, Brookhaven Country Club, which was our first country club. That was built back in the 50s, and since then I don't believe we've actually developed one. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, there were probably 2 times as many golf courses were built than were really needed.
Oh, okay.
So development of golf courses has really slowed down. You will get some that are built by home developers who build a golf course at the center of a community just for homeowners who want to live on a golf course. But the development activity in the golf industry has really slowed.
Oh, okay. So with the properties that your firm currently owns, is there a specific type of contractor, maybe horticulture contractors or janitorial services, that are probably looked at as being the most pertinent as far as taking care of the properties go?
Horticulture contractors, we typically do all of our agronomy work in-house.
Okay.
If we're doing a big course redesign, we will hire a famous architect, like a Jack Nicklaus to do the redesign. And then from there, we'll get the plans, we'll get the course layout, and then and I don't know the particular names of the firms that we work with, but there are some firms that we prefer working with on on big course rerouting or course redesign projects. In terms of janitorial services, that's all over the board. I mean, some of our clubs, we just use our staff for that function. Others we outsource it, and those are all kind of regional and geography specific. So we don't really have a any national contract with a janitorial service provider.
Okay, so overall, your firm says it's more financially viable to go with the in-house staff and to kind of avoid bringing in these third parties whenever possible.
It can be. It all depends on what type of business the property is doing. For example, just a very golf focused country club, it's going to have a very small clubhouse. So from a janitorial standpoint, there's not a lot to do, and it just makes more sense to use your on-site staff to do that. In other cases, we operate private clubs inside some college football stadiums. So the footprint of those is massive. And, you think of after a game day where you have 50,000 fans in attendance, not all of those fans would be in the areas that we control. So call it, 10,000 fans in the areas that we control. For something like that, it makes a lot more sense to outsource the janitorial work. A lot of times, the university will specify which janitorial provider you need to use. Other times it's up to us to decide who that is. And again, for those, it's all across the board. There's not one janitorial provider that we utilize.
Oh, okay. So at the clubs, has your firm ever run into any issues with people actually using the facilities, getting injured, getting food poisoning? Has the company experienced and had to overcome obstacles such as that?
Are you talking about our customers, or are you talking about
the customers? Yeah.
Customers? Yeah, of course. Injuries unfortunately happen on golf courses. Someone might get into an accident involved with a golf cart. Just general slip and fall type injuries. We've got fitness facilities at a lot of our clubs, so those are prone to injury. So that's something that we experience pretty frequently.
And then, are there attorneys that work full time to defend the company, or is that typically a third party hire?
We do have in-house counsel that will handle those from time to time, and depending on how big the claim is. And how legally intensive the work is, we'll also utilize outside counsel that specializes in personal injury cases.
Okay. And what state would you say you have the most staff or most amount of property that has to be taken care of?
So we have about 17 properties in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We have around 20 in the Atlanta area. In California, we have, I'd say, between 20 and 25 properties. So those would be the markets where we have the most properties.
Okay. And then in a lot of those properties, let's say the property was owned by one firm and then your firm acquired it, do you typically roll on with the staff and contractors that were already there, or is there a vetting process where maybe your team decides whether or not you need to bring in new contractors or staff to help take care of the property?
For the staff, my experience is we generally retain about 90% of the staff that's there. The positions that we usually replace or just eliminate would be the accounting staff. All of our accounting is centralized in Dallas,
Okay.
and for a single golf course, they typically have a controller and then probably an accounts receivable clerk and an accounts payable clerk. So generally, we're able to, consolidate those three positions into one on-site position, and then the rest of the accounting work is completed back in Dallas. The other position, a lot of times where there's turnover when we acquire a property, is the general manager, and that's based a lot on compensation levels that a general manager would receive at a single store member-owned club versus the compensation levels that our general managers get. In terms of the different contracts that are in place, generally, for a janitorial services contract that's in place, or for a linens contract that's in place, there's not really a way to get out of those before the term expires. So we'll assume those contracts and run them through to completion, and then at the end of the term we'll kind of reassess. For a lot of services like linens, we do have national contracts where we get preferred pricing. So typically we'll keep what they have for 6 months to a year, and then reassess.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we're at the 10-minute mark, and I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today.
No problem. Happy to do it.
Thanks.